Hello everybody, my name is Stanley and welcome to another tutorial, another video on IBM Cloud and Terraform. We'll cover how to use Terraform on IBM Cloud, and I will cover the basics and cover some information on what it is and how to do it and what our options are. So Terraform, as you know, is a way to create resources on IBM Cloud, and it allows you to create resources by using the Terraform configuration files, which have the extension .tf, and you use it to provision resources and to manage resources, to delete and update, and once you're done or you want to change something, all using a configuration file as opposed to using the console or the CLI. And you're still using the CLI, but granted, it's not the IBM Cloud CLI. You're using the Terraform CLI. Now, you can get Terraform from hashicorp.com. Now, you can download Terraform CLI and you use the CLI on your workstation to manage the configuration files and push your configuration to the IBM Cloud. Or you can use what's called IBM Cloud Schematics. IBM Cloud Schematics is Terraform as a service, and basically IBM Cloud has a service called IBM Cloud Schematics, and it is basically a Terraform that they use, but it's on the cloud. And essentially, what that means is you still write your Terraform configuration files, which have the file extension .tf, but this time you just chuck it in to an IBM Cloud Schematic service, and it would read the contents of that file and create something like this, and have all the same variables as you would have in a Terraform configuration file, as you can see. You can generate the plans and apply the plans and so forth. So this is how the IBM Cloud Schematics looks like, and these are your two options really. You can use the CLI, Terraform CLI, or you can use IBM Cloud Schematics. Now the schematics, when you create a schematics service, you'd want to first create a workspace. In the location, North America or Europe, that's what they have right now. And you create a workspace, and so this is a workspace, and from within the workspace you can you can connect it to your GitHub, which has the Terraform configuration files, and read the configuration and deploy resources onto IBM Cloud using IBM Cloud Schematics that way. But for this video, we'll cover how to, essentially do it using the using this Terraform CLI. Excuse me. And so we'll cover that in this video. But I am an IBM Cloud architect, and I had worked for IBM. I don't work for IBM now, but I used to work for IBM Cloud for about 6 years, and I'm very familiar with the service and the people and everything. And recently, a new version of Terraform did come out. It was Terraform 13.3. And it does have a little bit of a difference in the what's called the HashiCorp configuration language, which is what the Terraform files are written in, and that's the language that Terraform sort of is. Well, the syntax and everything is what it's called. So there was an update that does change how the files are connected, written, and how it's connected to IBM Cloud. And so I think this video will be immensely helpful for those people who are already familiar and to be aware of the new changes, as well as people who are just starting. And I created this video primarily to help. I had done my last video and on creating IBM Cloud functions using Terraform. One of the comments was, could you please set up share a video on how you did set up your project? And so I thought that was a good idea. And so this video will sort of show you how to set up your Terraform workspace, and I'll try to do this as methodically as possible and try to cover everything I think somebody would ask or think or have confusion with. And we'll try to cover it all that up in this video. So Varun, this video is for you, Varun. And thank you, Varun, for sharing your feedback. I really do like when you guys share comments and feedback. I'm excited by it. And it's a great motivation for me to keep producing videos. Really, it helps me and it helps everyone. And so I thought this is a great opportunity. So, now, when you have Terraform CLI, you also need an IBM Cloud Terraform plugin. And that plugin would essentially allow you to connect your Terraform CLI to the IBM Cloud plugin, uh, and or sorry, it would allow you to connect to IBM Cloud using the IBM Cloud Terraform plugin. And the plugin is needed. Now, every cloud provider has one, AWS and and Azure, and so these big companies, at least I know for sure, Amazon does, AWS does, and I'm sure Azure as well as one as well. But these big companies all produce these plugins for Terraform to allow users to deploy resources on their cloud. And so I will be covering Terraform CLI, and as I stated, you have the option of using IBM Cloud schematics as well. Now, it all depends on comfortability and maybe around user usage as well. With the Terraform CLI, it tends to be one user who has, depends on where the configuration files are located. When you download CLI, it has to be in a folder. It has to be in a certain location, and if it's inaccessible by other users, maybe when you're in a company environment and other employees can't access those files, they may have difficulty working together. They can't access a folder, then they can't deploy resources on IBM Cloud using Terraform CLI. So in those particular cases, then IBM Cloud Schematics might be better. But then again, I said if they can't access a folder. So if they are able to access a folder in a shared folder space, Terraform CLI, could be just as good as an IBM Cloud Schematics option, which would allow multiple users to access that service and to take advantage of deployments and generating plans and so forth. So I think the Terraform CLI is pretty good, and for this video we'll cover that. So let's get started. We're on the HashiCorp.com, and it's not very intuitive. It's not very easy to browse. There's many different products that HashiCorp creates. We'll go ahead to Terraform, but it should be one of the first things and easy to get to, but it's not that easy. So we'll cover, we have to click on products, you have to click on Terraform because that's what we'll cover. Then you have to click on open source, learn more. Unfortunately, you would think they would add a download link here in big box or something, but no, they have different versions of Terraform, and we want to get the local CLI, and the open source is what we would want. They also have self-hosted in the cloud Terraform editions, but we're not going to use those. We're going to use the open source. So click on Learn More, and then from this page that loads, we're going to click on Get Started with OSS, and it shows different diagrams of how Terraform would work and everything like that. And then it redirects to terraform.io/downloads.html. And then from here, you download for your operating system. So Mac OS, FreeBSD, everything is here. We're going to be covering primarily for Windows in this video. And Linux is very similar, but I think it'd be good for us to cover how to do it on Windows. So go ahead and just download it. Here, click Save. And when you do, you can extract it. We're going to open the zip file. We see a terraform.exe. We extract that. I'm going to go ahead and extract that to my uh, Terraform, my documents, Terraform. I created a folder called Terraform. So I'm going to extract it to that folder. So I'll select that and hit extract. And we see terraform.exe. We're not going to worry about any of the other files in this folder right now. We'll worry about the other folders. We're going to focus on terraform.exe. So we have terraform.exe. Now the next thing is we want to be able to launch our, we want to be able to launch our command prompt and just type in Terraform and be able to just launch Terraform that way. And because we don't want to navigate to this folder every time that you want to run Terraform, that would be awful. Right, so you don't want to go C / my documents. You don't want to go to my documents and go to the Terraform CLI every time you have to sort of run it. That would be a huge hassle. And so what I plan to do, or what I'm trying to do here, is I'm trying to add Terraform to the Windows CLI. So you can just type in Terraform. You can be anywhere, and it would execute. That that would be awesome. And so the way to do that is to use to add a Terraform that we just unzipped here to the path. It's called path in Windows, and the path is I guess a variable that would allow commands and exes, for example, and different files to be run universally through command prompt. And that's what we're working on, and that's what we're using. And so that's what we want to that's what we want to use, and that's what we want to do, right? So to do that, we're going to go to Start button. We're going to click on Search for Control Panel, and so let's pull up Control Panel. Hopefully, come on today. All right, Control Panel finally, and I'm going to go to System and click on the Advanced System. Click on Environmental Variables, right? Then we're going to look for Path, and then click on Edit. And we would want to add the Terraform folder. So let's add it. I don't think it's here, so let's add it, right? So let's browse it actually. So click on Browse, and we can head on to the Documents folder. Yeah, okay, come on. Terraform. Okay, perfect. Right, so yeah, so we have Terraform in there, right? And let's hit OK, and hit OK again, and hit OK again, and it should go. No, it's not recognized, so it's not working. We may have to just restart command prompt. So let's restart command prompt, and right click, and we're going to run as administrator. Okay, and then we're going to type in Terraform. There it is. Okay, so Terraform is there, and now I can run it anywhere because I've added it to Windows Path. So that's something that you'd want to do. And so this is a great next step that you want to do. So we downloaded it, we've added Terraform to Path. Next thing we want to do is we want to get the IBM Cloud plugin for Terraform. Now you can we can search it. I believe it's Cloud Provider Terraform. If we can search this, we should be able to get this third link, right? It's on GitHub, Terraform Provider IBM, and so we did that. We installed Terraform. We need to download the plugin, and it tells us to unzip it to the terraform.d /plugins folder. So we have to keep in mind that we're going to download the plugins, IBM Cloud Provider plugin for Terraform, and then put it in the terraform.d /plugins folder. That's the plan, and we're just going to go ahead and click on download. And this is the latest version, so that we see 1.12. 5 days ago. It's very recent as of this September 19th. And we have multiple versions here. Provider 1.12, Windows _ AMD 64. This is what you'd want to download. Now, I'm not really entirely sure why they have two different naming schemes here. That's always sort of so I wouldn't. I recommend to really get this one, and at least it has worked for me without any problem. And not quite sure. I wish there was a sort of an explanation for the different windows I'm seeing here, but they look very similar in size, and I don't think it would be an issue. At least it hasn't been an issue so far. So I'm gonna sort of ignore it for now, right? So we're gonna download it or not ignore it for now, but it hasn't been a problem for me, so I don't think it should be a problem for you. I'm gonna download it there, and once it's downloaded, gonna open the zip. Come on, about 15 MB, it should be fast. Alright, so we got Mac OS and we got the provider exe, another exe file. And as before, you're going to extract it, and you should create a terraform.d folder that was mentioned in the instructions, and a plugins folder underneath it, right? So that's what we want to do, and so we're going to do that. We're going to, luckily beforehand, I did create a folder, terraform.d plugins, and you can just you can pop it in here, but I did create a folder, IBM Cloud, IBM, and then I put it in here. So you can choose where you really want to put it. I recommend, because Terraform, you can use Terraform with other cloud providers. You would want to create a folder for IBM Cloud, as I've done, and then put it inside that folder. And then I created a subfolder IBM. And I've seen that, at least in the configurations, you do need a second folder. I try to get away with just using one folder, but it needs a second folder, so you do need a second folder. So you do want to create the following folder that I've just highlighted: terraform.d plugins, and then two more folders. One, and I went by the provider because you can use Terraform for other providers, and you want to just generally just organize it, everything in a way that you can. It's simple for you, right? So there's that, and then we're going to extract it. And once that's done, we're going to see terraform.d plugins, IBM Cloud, IBM, the provider exe is in here. So it is in here, just as you'd extracted it before, and that's where it is. Now we want to get started. So the next file we're going to create is called provider.tf. Now you can just simply go right click and go to new, and you can create a new folder, new text and then rename it .tf. And then all you're going to do is just open it up in a Word format, or not a Word format, excuse me, a Notepad editor or some kind of text editor, and that should do. I used a editor called Atom, and Atom is very, very useful for editing files and so forth. You can use a file that has support for Terraform. In addition to Atom, you can also open it in IDEA, IntelliJ. So that's a good option because it has support for Terraform. There are some softwares that have plugin support for Terraform, and that's a good idea to use as well. So IntelliJ, I recommend using as well. Let me see. Oh, I can't. Okay. Right, so I used Terraform in Atom. So in Atom, we have to provider.tf. So I have the provider.tf file and into my Atom editor, and I've added some variables and things like that. You might be wondering what these are, and I'll get started with what it is. So first thing is you want to type in this section right here, Terraform, and then open curly brackets, and do well. You don't necessarily need required version, but I recommend it because .13 is where significant changes in the HashiCorp configuration language has taken place, and so it's not recommended if you use the latest version with an older version, or use older syntax with the older version Terraform with the latest version, because there might be some incompatibilities. So you want to do required underscore version equals open quote greater than or equal to 0.13, which is the latest version of Terraform. Then you want to do required underscore providers, open curly braces, and you want to then put the IBM equals, open curly braces. Source is now we're going to look at where the IBM Cloud Terraform plugin location is. And then you do IBM Cloud /IBM. Now you can make it whatever you set it before. It just has to be 2 folders. So I try to get away with just putting IBM Cloud, but it doesn't work. So that's unfortunate. So we are, let's go back. Jeez, come on, documents. There, just missed it. Come on. All right, close. Don't want to take up too much of your time. Come on. All right, Terraform. Somewhere, find yourself, show yourself. Please stop hiding. Where is it? It's somewhere. I just have to find it. All right, so it's CD documents, right? And then we're going to go to Terraform, and then do Terraform init. And yep, so when I try to get away with using just IBM Cloud, as in Terraform .d, might be able to, but let's see. I haven't been plugins, right? Terraform.d plugins, and this is where it's searching where there was a source. Um, what that is. Okay. Come on. We can, maybe it might work. Let me just quickly try it. I just had an idea to sort of grab it into the plugins folder and see if that works. May not. Let's see. Yeah, it's not going to work. So um, that was my suspicion. You have to put it inside HashiCorp, inside two levels of folders. So we have IBM Cloud, and so we have IBM Cloud slash IBM, and I can make it whatever you want really, but I just named it this way. But two levels of folders is what testing has shown. And then we specify the version. So the version of the IBM Cloud is IBM Cloud plugin is 1.12, as I understand, and that's what I'm seeing when I go here. 1.12, right? So we're seeing 1.12, and so that's what I put as well. So that's what I did. Now, the command that I have been running is Terraform init, and I will get to it. So then we close the braces, close bracket, close another bracket, and then close the bracket for the Terraform block, this block right here. And then you'd want to copy and paste the following into this as well. And what it is it's variables, API key. These are the essential ones. You definitely need the API key. If you're going to be using a lot of the services on the platform as a service pass side, it's going to utilize your IBM Cloud API key, which is on the platform side. So you definitely want that variable. If you're using the classic infrastructure, which is infrastructure as a service, IaaS, you'd want to, these are the two variables that would be required. The IaaS underscore classic username, IaaS classic API key, and these are separate from the IBM Cloud platform username or API key. Um, Now, on the IBM Cloud platform side, where you just have the IBM ID, on the classic infrastructure side, you have a separate username, right? So that's why you wanted to define these variables. Um, and then you have the region. Where's the service going to be deployed? Where is it going to be at? And so you want to make sure that you have a variable for region, because if you don't know where you're deploying it, then that's not going to be good for you. You want to be able to, you want to know where you deploy your stuff, because that sounds so silly, but if you don't have it, then you won't know where those services are going to be deployed, and that can be messy if you're assuming everything is going to be in Dallas, which is one of the big regions, but it's not always the case, right? So you want to make sure that variable is there. And then we have the SSH key. So if you're deploying any kind of instances, they're going to have some kind of public key, SSH key, and on VPC, every instance has to have an SSH key. SSH keys are so popular, I recommend using that variable. Now those variables are listed, and then you have to have the provider IBM, and this sort of it sort of shows where the it shows it shows the variables that will be defined. So it is similar to okay. So for example, and it's probably best explained. You have the IBM Cloud underscore API underscore key, and it's equal to var.ibm cloud, and it's equal to that variable region is equal to that region variable, and so forth. The only one that is this is relevant is generation, um, equals to, and so when you're working with VPC, most likely you're going to be working with a VPC generation 2. So this is the only one that, or not the only one, but it's certainly something that is a variable that can be outrightly, explicitly mentioned right here. So it's something you'd want to definitely take note of. If you're using VPC on IBM Cloud, this is how you would decide, or how you would put into the configuration, that you'll be working with VPC generation 2. Um, so something to keep in mind for sure, and something to be aware of. So it's definitely something to be aware of. And so this is a provider.tf file. The next file we're going to be looking at is going to be called a Terraform variable definitions file. Now, what's interesting about a variable definitions file is the declarations we made, these variables that we've declared, these values that are equal to variables, and these variables that are listed, these ones that are declared, are now further even defined in the Terraform variables or Terraform definitions file, and it has the extension .tf-vars. So you can create it just like before. You can create a new text file and rename it terraform.tf-vars. Ignore the tf state and these other files. So you're just going to look at tf-vars, and you're going to open that up, and the tf-vars, and here you would define those variables that you declared in the other files, and you can copy this as well. IBM Cloud API key, the SSH key, what is that? Or it can, what it would point to if you already have created it, and the infrastructure username and infrastructure API key, as well as the region, for example, US South. So this is the second file that would be required, that you should definitely take note of. And so we have 3 files: terraform.exe, terraform.tf-vars, provider.tf. Now you can. So if you're working with another cloud provider, if you're working with some other files, you might also see main.tf. It's essentially the same. You can use provider.tf, or you can rename it main.tf. At the end of the day, it has to be one TF file, one TF-var file, and then you have the terraform.exe, and those are basically your essential files to get started with Terraform. And the folder terraform.d, and not to forget, right? So so all in all, one folder and about 3 files. Yes, 3 files and 1 folder. And one folder has an IBM Cloud Terraform plugin. The other files are essential for Terraform usage. And then we have the CLI. So we're back here, and we're going to type in the command here. Terraform Terraform init, and that is to initialize the setup, and if it goes through, then we know everything works as we really want and as we've intended. We're going to do terraform.init. All right, awesome. And it detected the versions, and we're going to just check the versions to be sure. Terraform-v would show the versions, so we're using 13.3. And the provider is the latest 1.12 as of September 19, 2020, and we're essentially ready to go. You can go ahead and use it. And here, from here on out, if you want to keep on using it, you'd have to create a new file and make it a .tf file. So you can do like, I want to deploy my VPC, vpc.tf. And that file would have all your VPC deployment information and so forth. And I'll show you an example here. So I have my IntelliJ here, and it has a provider.tf file. It has a terraform.tf-vars, and it has the Terraform.exe somewhere in this folder called certificate, and I have a certificate.tf because I want to provision an IBM Cloud Certificate Manager. So this TF file, Terraform file, is just for that. And so what you want to keep in mind is, so yeah, here it is. So here's my certificate.tf. And what you want to keep in mind is that that I am going to be using the certificate.tf. So certificate.tf. Different now from here, I can start using different Terraform configuration from the IBM Cloud documentation to sort of piece together or put together the services and resources that I want to provision and deploy in IBM Cloud. And it's really that simple, essentially. They have a format to them. You'll find you'd want to search the IBM Cloud resource by doing IBM underscore resource or IBM underscore whatever it is, and they'll have a certain format for different each service and for different actions and different resources. They'll have different Terraform configurations and calls and things like that. And this is all found in the IBM Cloud Terraform documentation. And so this is not just if you're worried about how to do this part, well, this part you'd have to really look into Terraform documentation, and I'll show you how to piece it together. Have a name. What do you want to name the certificate manager instance, and the location, which would be the region, the service, and this is equal to. This is from the IBM Cloud catalog. What is the service name of the service, and how it's identified? And it's called Cloud Certs, and so then the group ID, the resource group ID. You can use the IBM Cloud CLI to pull it up. These are information that you'd find out or you would have, and you'd plug it into these values. So and so forth for different services and different offerings and different actions. And here's a action to order the certificate through IBM Cloud. And so this is called IBM underscore certificate manager underscore order. And what it does, exactly as it says, it helps you order a certificate. And so that's, this is like sort of like the configuration for that and so forth. And it goes on and on and on. And essentially what you want to achieve, what you want to do, you create a .tf file and go from there. And that's pretty much all there is to the to Terraform and to setting up Terraform for the first time. And if you're able to do that, and if you're able to follow along, that's really essentially all it is. Now, what's new? These are the two files that you should definitely be aware of and be familiar with, and definitely you can create a template, boiler template, so next time you have to do a project on IBM Cloud, you can get going right away and start using these files. In the latest version, .13, this whole new part is very new, and even if you use .12, you will find that you can't use it on the newest version because this has to be done this way. This is new, so for those who are watching and experienced, I think this will be very helpful to use this kind of configuration. I hope this video is helpful in that regard. But essentially, that's all essentially that we're going to be covering, and hopefully, I hope that this was helpful. Here's a zoomed in. I'll do it a little bit. So these are the two files essentially. But I hope that this video is immensely helpful, and that's something that you come to use, and it is something that you find valuable, and that you'd leave feedback on how I'm doing, and how you'd like this, and so forth. and definitely take advantage of the information and use it wisely, so it can help you with your projects. Now, after you've done Terraform Init, you can do Terraform Plan, and then you do Terraform Apply. So you do Terraform Plan, and then once you've done that, you run Terraform Apply, and then you apply. You actually create those resources, and so forth. And then you can find the rest of the commands on the website. I believe one of the other commands is also Terraform delete. But I just want to be double checking. I forget. I want to double check that. So, believe destroy. So Terraform destroy, and that's for destroying resources, all of them. So unless you specify, right? Unless you specify the specific resource, Terraform destroy would destroy the Terraform plan that you had run prior. So you definitely want to be careful when you're using Terraform, that you are, when you're removing resources, that you're targeting specific resources, or you can delete or remove all the Terraform configuration. That's something that you don't want to do. So just something to keep in mind. Now, if you're starting different projects, you may have to, if you're starting different projects, you may have to copy your Terraform.exe TF and the provider.tf and the Terraform.d. So just something to keep in mind. Or if you're working with many more variables, if you're working in a different environment, or if you're working on a different workstation or something like that, you definitely want to copy and paste the 3 files on the folder that we worked with, so that you can move it to somewhere you can work with and continue using it, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Or if you're working on a different project, or just move all the .tf files, like the VPC, not all of them, but just the ones and not including provider.tf or main.tf, as it's sometimes called. Move all the other TF files elsewhere, and then start fresh with your new project, right? So something to keep in mind as well. But I hope this video was very helpful. I'm getting so tongue twisted and so caught up because I've been talking so long. So thank you so much for bearing with me. I hope this video was helpful, and definitely a helpful session. Feel free to leave comments. And I hope you watch and rate this video. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.